Okay. Um, so what do you want to start with, Jeremy?
Well, so we had some good questions earlier. Where is it? Grayson asked a question, but Grayson's question kind of has to be answered by TJ. I can kind of give the synopsis, but Grayson asked, give us the origin story of Mimic. What products, if any, really pushed the business forward? That one will have to be a TJ thing. I can give the synopsis as TJ, from my understanding, started with Mimic cables and was doing DIY cables, and that was really the majority of his business. And decided, you know what, I enjoy this. I enjoy the business, and I enjoy the brand and the industry. So let's start retailing, and started picking up a couple brands and went from there. Now I can't tell you what pushed him forward because I've just joined recently. If there's any specific products, I don't know if Chris can add anything to that.
Yeah, so I kind of came on and you know, at the get-go of things when he started to work on audio gear, and he had some stuff beforehand, but after he went to Can Jam with most of the guys here actually, um, picked up some brands, and so I started working with him after that, and got to know him and got to know the process, and really enjoyed working with him, and then later meeting Jeremy and working with Peter to kind of make a little collaborative community and a collaborative group. And then we went from there. And so he and I built out the website, and he and I set up kind of the relationships with different dealers and different vendors. And over going to a couple of different events, there were a few different manufacturers that stood out to us as people who respected our business model and respected the way we were wanting to do things and the way we saw the vision of the company. Um, so a couple of the ones that uh, I definitely want to highlight who have stuck with us and have petitioned for us is, of course, Final, and we've done a lot of products through Final Audio. And then Amps and Sound, actually, I was able to meet Justin at Capital Audio Fest, and we're
What an
going to get
incredible
him.
guy, dude.
Yeah, we're gonna get him on here. Hopefully the next episode. He was at Florida Audio Show this weekend, so I'm hoping he's gonna be next Monday. But he really respected us, I feel like, and wanted to work with us. So it's been fun seeing how the process grows and seeing which people are open and receptive to actually working with you and which people are interested in kind of mm, have value in their own products that's not just the money but is something that they feel that they've done everything they can to create a valuable product.
Yeah, as a hobby that can have a lot of, for lack of a better term, snake oil, and
Hmm.
seems
Hmm.
like in a an industry that would have a lot of people that are just in it for the money. I have met very few people who are in the industry, regardless of what brand they are. Obviously, some of the larger brands, you got your Sennheisers and stuff like that. Not everybody that works there is going to be huge into audio, but for all of the boutique brands that, most of the brands that we carry and everyone that I've had contact with, they do it out of a love for the hobby. It's the money's got to be nice. I mean, nobody's going to complain getting a paycheck doing what they love, but the amount of passion that goes into a lot of the products and a lot of the people that we talk to at shows is incredible. Justin is a standout example.
Yeah, yeah,
My first Can
and
Jam was SoCal 2 years ago, and I barely had any gear. I had a Little Dot Mark II and a JDS Lab stack and a couple mid-fi headphones, and Justin treated me demoing his gear in the same way that he treated every single person that came up, and was he had more words in his head than his mouth could keep up with, talking about how passionate he is about his brand and his products and tubes in general and just audio. It was
yeah,
incredible.
yeah, and that's kind of been one of my favorite things about getting into this and being able to see the other side is seeing how passionate some of these people are and seeing how much they they care about the gear that they're producing, and the flip side is the people who are receiving that gear. There are things that once they leave it their hands, it's not their problem anymore. And then there's companies where they want to make sure that you're getting the most out of it and that it is a good experience for you. And I think he does a fantastic job. I think SW1X does a fantastic job at that, and a couple of the other brands we've worked with.
And there's also people that don't necessarily have a brand or even a business in audio that we've talked to who have shout out Wyatt. Wyatt has been tube wizard for me. Anytime I have tube questions, I go to Chris, and Chris typically goes, go to Wyatt.
Yeah.
And Wyatt is he sells his tubes, but he doesn't have a business or anything like that. And he's incredibly passionate and incredibly knowledgeable. Yeah, for now.
Yeah. Okay, now that TJ's here, do you want to introduce the beginnings of Mimic?
So Jeremy really put a lot of it down, kind of how I said. Grayson had mentioned what got me started when I decided I wanted to sell audio gear instead of just cables, and it was I wanted a pair of Empyreans. So I emailed Meze, and I think they misread my email. Like they thought I was asking to become a dealer and not just for a trade discount, and it just went from there. I had some contacts with Focal just from before Mimic when I was selling car audio, and they were the second one. And then I had something else, and I'm probably forgetting what it was. Maybe IFI, I don't remember. But after that, I joined the telegrams one after one, more to get information and to decide what I wanted for something. And then it was, we want someone that can get this and this and this. And it just kind of steamrolled from there. Then I met Chris, then I met Jeremy, and now we're where we are.
And around the time of CanJam SoCal is when, if Mimic Audio was a caterpillar in a cocoon before, CanJam SoCal 2022 was kind of when we broke out from that. Was when the rebrand happened right before CanJam, like a week or so before CanJam, where you went from Mimic Cables to Mimic Audio.
I remember he and I were working on that. That's cool.
I remember the full rollout. I saw it in the Telegram chats of, all right, no longer Mimic Cables. It is now Mimic Audio. And then CanJam was incredible. That's essentially when I got brought on, was hanging out with everybody. I live in Southern California, so I wasn't staying in any of the Airbnbs with everybody, but I had kind of known everybody. I knew Dan from last year. I knew a handful of people. I knew Gizmo from last year. And all these people that I've known online were like, oh yeah, come hang out with us. We have Airbnb, we're going to hang out. And that was my first in-person interaction with TJ. And by the end of the show, we were pretty good friends. I had some gear, and then I'd say that was when you said, hey, come work for me soon.
Yeah.
And then I say a month after that, if that, is when you were like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah, I think it was because I got sick. So I was pretty well out for all of October.
Yeah.
And by the time I was back, I was like, let's get you into this. Let's get you doing media for us, and let's get you making cables.
It started with the cables. You said, all right, let's do the cables. So I am now, so TJ can focus full time on the main brand and selling. I'm taking over all of the manufacturing of Mimic cables. So I have one box here so far of components. There's another 1 or 2 boxes coming of all of the components, all the tools, everything that TJ's done is going to be me for anything. If you order a custom cable, obviously other than Double Helix from mimicaudio.com, it's going to be being made by me and then to be shipped out from my place. And then after that, it was the Discord and stuff like that. We were in the chat, and TJ's like, we need a Discord. Jeremy, do you want to spearhead that? And so I said, yeah, you know what, let's do it. And then I started kind of taking on more of the social media stuff and the Discord and posting stuff in Telegrams and stuff like that.
Yep. And yeah, and talking about it with Chris just kind of was like DM'd me one day. He was like, "Hey, do you need some work done on your site
Yeah.
and
Yep.
a new logo?" And I was like, "Please." And that was just supposed to be a one-time thing, and now he's
I've never left.
partner.
Yep. And it's hilarious because when TJ started to really bring me in and introduce me to Chris, and I was like, okay, so these are kind of the ideas that I have. And every idea that I pitched, TJ said, yep, that's my idea too. And Chris would go, already working on it. So
Yeah.
all of our ideas for what we want Mimic to be in the next 6 months, the next year, the next 5 years, all of it lined up without ever even communicating about it. Mimic
Yeah.
Harmonies was an idea that I don't even know who came up with it, because we felt like we all came up with it at the same time and just under
Yeah.
different names and different ideologies of kind of how it would be done. And Chris did an amazing job of spearheading it. He came up with the branding and everything, and we are kind of all individually putting in our own systems right now, where stuff that we really enjoy and making it as a pairing. So the first time that I cried listening to a setup, everyone's heard this story of Kanjam. We stayed up until like 3 o'clock in the morning with who was there? It was myself.
Yep.
It
was there.
was yep. I think you hit the hay because I think you were starting to
I
get
was
sick already.
freaking zapped by
Yeah.
that point.
You were one of the first ones to start getting the symptoms.
Hmm.
Chip was there, and oh god,
I think Autumn was there too.
Jacob and Autumn was there. Jacob's been busy with school, so I haven't heard much from him. But Priz. There's a Prez and a Priz. I don't remember who's who.
It was Priz.
Priz, yes. Meze, not Meze, sorry. The new DCA Expanse on Nautilus specifically. I did not love Expanse on a lot of the things that I heard it on, but for some reason on Nautilus, I haven't plugged a headphone into Nautilus that didn't benefit from it. And Nautilus
it's
made
a fantastic
oh
amp.
my god, Nautilus definitely brought a couple tears to my eye, and so that's that's essentially one of the things that I was looking at. Then there's some great combos, like I think TJ, you have GSX Mini and D8K Pro.
Yep.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And everyone's kind of been given their input. I wanted to do Kato and BTR7 because I think that's such a great combo at that price point, that if you want portable, my buddy, he's listening right now, Corey, he owns that combo and he pretty much daily drives it. And he's part of the reason why I wanted that, is because he was chasing mid-fi audio stuff at around the same time that I was, and we were trying every $20 to $100 to $200 IEM over and over. We would kind of trade back and forth. I'd lend him a pair, he'd lend me a pair. And when he got Kato and BTR7, he said, I think I'm done at this point. Like,
I think I'm
like,
gonna stop lending you stuff.
yeah, he's like, I'm done. And he's like, I reached it and I heard it and I was like, yeah, this is, I mean, for $400 for the combo, you can't really beat it. So I wanted to put that one in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Chris,
we've got a stack more to come, and it's just it's gonna be great.
We were talking about doing, I know Chris is very passionate about vinyl. We want to try and get some vinyl stuff going on, some analog stuff. Sorry, I know that's your preferred term.
Yeah.
Some analog stuff going. I want to get some speaker stuff on there too, as well as full systems. So depending on what you mean by full system, we could have it as simple as DAC amp headphone, or as complex as DAC amp that works with both speakers and headphones, a pair of speakers to go with it, and a pair of headphones to go with it, maybe a turntable and a preamp to go. Depends on how crazy we decide to go with it. But
yeah,
the
and all the cables to connect it together, and something to put it all on.
Yep.
I currently have a Go Blue SCJ, and I love the Go Blue. That thing's awesome.
Really, the idea of curated full systems, not just the typical bundle pair where it's two headphones that you want to try, or maybe an amp and a DAC that go together, but things that we've fallen in love with and things that we have curated for our own systems, in terms of pairing it with the different cables or headphones that we enjoy that go with this specific chain, and different things that we've been able to try out and fall in love with, I think is the idea to make it as little cookie cutter as possible. And of course there's going to be some overlap with things that other people are doing, just because of some of this gear is just good and other people get that too. But there are certain things where it's something we've heard and you're like, I almost don't want to buy this without this headphone.
Yeah.
Or I need, this is a pairing I want someone else to be able to hear that might not be in the mainstream of things to put together. And so we're hoping to be able to provide that complete package where someone who's looking for, as simple as an all-in-one unit has a little bit more leeway, a little bit more validation into buying an entire system, and even looking at what an entire system for this looks like, that maybe you can't afford a part of it right now, but you know what you're looking for. And then we were thinking to give a couple of options. So maybe there's, 2 or 3 headphones that we think go well. And so then we would provide a drop down option that then you can select the headphone. And then we'll be able to provide a little bit of feedback on the page about what each of those combinations might provide. Or
We're going to
Well,
get
you would
listening notes
mention-
on everything.
Mhm.
Well, and you had mentioned, or Jeremy and Chris, you had both mentioned, basically shining the light on things that people don't maybe necessarily know about. And
Mhm.
that's been a tentpole of Mimic since the beginning.
Yes.
Is just like Jeremy, probably just like Chris, probably just like 90% of the people that are listening right now. We all started with the one thing, and it didn't scratch the itch. So we bounced to another thing, and then another thing. And then now we're 20 things later doing swaps and trades and use sales and all of that because there's no real way for someone to go to talk to someone or go to a place and go, I want to play around and put headphones on. And
Yeah.
that's the other
Bravura,
tentpole.
Bravura
is
is one of the things
demo.
that made me want to do harmonies in the way that we're doing it right
Mhm.
now, because so many people kept saying Bravura is so good, it's so good, and the best part about it is it's one and done. You don't need to do a bunch of research on what to pair with
Yeah.
it. You
Yeah.
just buy it and it's done. And I was like, okay, so why doesn't that exist for other gear, maybe at the same price point that gives a different flavor, or at a lower price point, or a higher one? If you don't want to go all the way up to a Perio, but you want to get a system that you can just go, hey, if I click buy on the website, I'm going to get something that sounds really good and pairs really well together.
Mhm. And it's a nice springboard into the hobby that,
Yes.
this is a pairing that's already validated. And, not that we're any better than any other reviewers out there, but at least it's providing you with an opportunity to get into it that I guess allows a little bit of financial room. So we're trying to discount them a little bit to give the opportunity to people to jump into the hobby at whatever level they're wanting to, and get both the amp DAC and headphone, or alternatively the full system and all of the cables to connect it in between, that someone goes, this is exactly the sound that I'm looking for. Or I've read your all's reviews and this is something I think I might like. And so we want to provide a little bit of a discount that people are more assured that they're not taking a huge risk at jumping for a full system, and then also that it's pre-vetted, pre-validated by us.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
and on the financial side of it as well, a lot of our stuff is for the harmonies are really high end right now.
Mhm.
And that's not how we want it to be forever. Well, obviously that's what a lot of the people that follow us care about. They care about the best of the best, and that's kind of the people that we've surrounded ourselves with. But we really want to get a lot more, dare I say, mid-fi stuff in, but as much Summit Fi stuff as there is 10 times more mid-fi
Yeah.
being pumped out from China, all these other countries. You've got DIY options, you've got all this stuff, and we don't want to shotgun blast it onto the website, because everything that we carry right now is stuff that we like and
Yeah.
brands that we align with. And there is brands that we like that we haven't been able to get yet, and
Yeah.
there's brands that we have in mind that we want to get, but we're actually trying to take, I myself am trying to take a step back from the really high end stuff right now and start learning a little bit more about the mid-fi range again, to understand what we want to carry and brands that we trust and that we know aren't going to screw over our customers and that are going to provide what we want. And then we're going to get listening notes and we're going to start building some harmonies for every price range.
Right.
That's kind of the goal, because we want people to be able to go, hey, I don't know much about audio. I've got, let's say, $1,000 to spend. I want to get a really great sounding system, and I want to just click one button, have some listening notes on what it is, click buy, and have it at my house.
Well,
And so we're
even
trying to
lower
get
than
them.
that. I'd
Yeah.
love to have stuff starting at, like you said, at like $300 or $400, and then
Yeah.
go up
Yeah.
from there. Because I mean, it's from a business side of it, the lower end stuff, the $100 to $500 stuff, really should be our bread and butter.
Yeah.
And then we have all of the everything above that as things for people to grow into, or things that people trust that we know is going to be something that they enjoy long term.
Yeah. The hard part is a lot of the value in the low range is in IEMs right now, and specifically in Chinese IEMs. But there is a new brand for Chinese IEMs popping up every week, and a new tuning, a new IEM from a new brand, and all these things, and you don't know what's reputable, you don't know what's actually good and what's built on hype. So there's a couple brands that I've been thinking of. I don't want to name any names, but there's a couple that I've kind of been cultivating and starting to get in contact with. But it's hard because you don't ever want to pick up a brand that's going to screw over your customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or pick up a brand that doesn't align with what we want to do.
Or pick up a brand that discontinues their items after 1,000-unit run.
Yep. Or makes
happens
a
a lot.
new upgraded model every other month. So if you buy one, you feel like you wasted money when the pro version comes out in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're trying
Which
to
is-
find brands that align with that and get some more
Yeah.
stuff in. It's an uphill battle right now because we have to hear stuff. We have to communicate with the company. We have to make sure that everything aligns before we go for it. It's not as easy as just going online and saying, perfect, we'll put this brand on the website.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I guess that's a good thing to further reiterate is the brands on the site right now are people that we all have personal relationships with in some way or another, which has been really interesting to me to get to talk with these people. And, you know, from a business side and from a geeking out nerd kind of side of seeing what goes on behind making these products and seeing the people that those businesses employ, you know, even on the financial side, even on the customer service side, is what efforts are these brands putting into outreach, and who are you able to talk to about getting in touch for these different products? You know, I think that says a lot, and that's how some of our interactions have been made.
Yeah. So, Chris, you had some pre-prepared points that you wanted to talk about. I do want to get to Christoph's question as well. We already touched on the origin of Mimic. I'd like to talk about what got each of us into audio and what we typically enjoy in terms of sound signatures or music that we like to listen to and stuff like that.
Do you want to go first, Jeremy?
Yeah, I can go first. My first foray into audio was pretty tame. I was very young. I'm only 25 right now, so I'm still pretty young compared to a lot of people in the hobby. And I think I was 13 or maybe 15. And it was when the M50X hype was really going around, and it was ending up my YouTube recommendations. And I was like, okay, everyone seems to really like these headphones. I like music a lot. Let me try them. So I asked for them for Christmas one year. And long story short, I got them. And I thought they were okay at the time, but everyone was talking about them like they were the best thing of all time, especially around the original M50X hype. And so I got those, and they worked for me for a little while. I did the typical thing that most of the kids were doing at that time. I did a dbrand skin for it. And that is around the time that I started watching YouTube reviewers. Because once I got these, then I was like, I don't know how much I love them. Like, they're not bad. They're better than like cheap $5 in-ears, but they didn't really do anything that brought emotion to it, which is the main thing that I look for in systems, is something that portrays the emotion that the music that you're listening to was trying to portray. So I started watching reviewers. I started watching Zeos. I started watching DMS. DMS was actually my main intro into the hobby back, I want to say 7 years ago, since we started talking to him, or since I started talking to him. And then I got the drop 6xx's and a Shitstack V1. And that was when I started to go really kind of headfirst into the hobby, got to demo a couple things. And then my big jump into the hobby was CanJam 2021 SoCal. I got to meet everybody from the Discords and the Telegram chats, and realize demo all these kinds of things that I did not even know were possible. I had never even heard of an eStat before at the time, and I was hearing electrostats and all these things, and it showed me what was possible in audio. And with not having the budget for it, for the high-end stuff that I wanted at the time, I came back home, I reevaluated what I wanted, and got a tube amp. Really enjoyed that. Got the Little Dot Mark II. Still a fantastic value for a $100-something tube amp. And that's when I was like, all right, it's time. And then 2022 CanJam SoCal rolled around. I get in contact with TJ, and now I am spoiled with all this gear that I never thought I could ever listen to for extended periods of time, let alone have in my apartment. And I'm more in love with the hobby now than I ever have been.
Nice.
As for
yeah,
music and stuff, I listen to all kinds of different stuff. I think as a lot of us are, with the exception of maybe Skedra, who listens to metal. I listen to a lot of hip hop, a lot of R&B, soul, lots of blues. But you throw anything on, and I'll listen to it.
Nice. Well, I will go. So a long time ago, I originally started with a pair of Bose closed back headphones from Best Buy, and just started listening to pretty much anything I could get my hands on. I listened to a bunch of my parents' CDs. If I got an iTunes gift card, I would use that and purchase music to listen to on an old iPod Classic. And for most of the time, I was fine with that. And eventually, I got a turntable when I was like 16, and started working and playing around with setting up turntables and configuring different speakers to try out, and had a bunch like 100-foot, 200-foot of that old speaker wire that you could kind of cut off, and I cut off a bunch of different pairs, and I would play with different speakers we had laying around the house. And eventually, somewhere in like 2016, 2017, my cousin first showed me Z reviews, and I went nuts a little bit. I bought the Audio-Technica ATH 900X and a Topping MX3, and then I was really hooked. And my next purchase was the SMSL SU9, the THX 789, and the LCDX. And I thought I was very done. And then 2 months later, I bought the Sennheiser HD 800S, and then I thought I was done. And then I saw everyone talking about these ZMF headphones, and so I bought the Verite closed. And at the time, I thought that was the most expensive purchase I was ever going to make, period. And just figured I was going to be done after that. And I will just say that they didn't sit right with me, and they pretty much started me looking for anything else, and I kept going from there and just kept buying and trying different things, mostly on the used market, just from the same reason of like not being able to go out and demo things. So I kept cycling through used gear one after another. And I got into the chats with Zeos, and then eventually I met Golden, which is dangerous. And he got me started on holo stuff. and I went straight from the SMSL to the Holo Spring, and then I was like, well, if I already have the Spring, the May's probably not that much different, so I'll go ahead and go get the May, and continued going from there. And now I've reinvented my system all over again multiple different times, and I've found that I very much like the sound of tubes. I like full-bodied kind of musical sounding music, and what I listen to mostly is a lot of jazz from the 60s to the 70s, and then a lot of female singers. Pete from Double Helix Cables, he said there's only so many emotionally damaged female singers I can listen to.
Yeah.
I kept sending him a bunch of music.
That really sounds like something he'd say.
Yeah, he called me out. But I'll listen to most stuff. But those tend to be what I get drawn to, is either jazz or emotionally damaged female singers.
Oh, it's my turn, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Well,
Man, the myth, the legend.
well, my stuff is just going to age me completely out of the first two. I started with a hand-me-down Magnavox CD player and used my summer money and everything to buy stacks of CDs, the first of which was a Matchbox 20 album, if I remember right. Like the one with 3 a.m. on it. Then I bought a boombox with a CD player and cassette player in it, so I could record things off the radio onto cassette and then have both cassette and CD. And, was a little bit into headphones at that point, but it was mostly what can I buy that looks like it might be cool at Walmart, basically, and turn up to 11 the whole time. I have no idea how my hearing survived till I was a teenager. Then from there, it kind of fell down a bit. I just too busy to do much audio. Well, until I got one of those cool purple Sony MP3 player Walkman with the memory sticks. The ad just caught my eye, and I was like, gotta have it. Used that for a long time. Then got a third gen iPod and was in iPods for, basically until they stopped making iPods. And, just rolling through different IEMs at that point, and then got introduced through my friend that got me into car audio as a profession to the Shure stuff. I think it was before the SE line. I want to say it was like the E6 or E5 or something like that. And that got me really into it again, but custom IEMs or not custom, but universal IEMs don't ever fit my ears, which made me look at custom IEMs, which we're talking 2008 now, means that I'm looking at either UEs or the JH Audio stuff, because those were really the only two, and they were mainly for professional use. And then I started digging into a little bit into the low end on hi-fi, and it just kind of exploded from there until here I am now going, I have too many things to pick and not enough time to wear it all. Or what it really is, I've given everything out for 73 people to listen to, and I don't have anything. Music-wise, pretty well like the other two. I'll listen to most everything. I've been listening to jazz covers of grunge and electric tonight. I had just stopped listening to a Snarky Puppy CD before this started.
Yes.
I love Snarky Puppies. Oh,
At least we can all agree on that one.
yes.
Yeah. Snarky Puppy's great. What got me listening to that was Rune Radio going, oh, hey, you just listened to this Creep cover. How about you listen to Snarky Puppy? And Snarky Puppy, Go Go Penguin, and
What got me into
more
Snarky
Snarky Puppy.
Puppies actually was Jacob Collier. I don't remember how that tree ended up getting there. I don't know if he did a
I
YouTube
know
video
who
with
that is,
him.
though. I know who that is.
But Jacob Collier is who got me into Snarky Puppy.
You wanna-
I love Jacob Collier.
You say that. The funny part is it goes. I'm listening to that Nordpool album. Then it goes. Listen to the Snarky Puppy. Then Go Go Penguin. Then Jacob Collier.
Yep.
Apparently, they're related behind the scenes. We don't even see the threads that Rune is drawing right now.
Yeah.
That's they've really
Yes.
fine-tuned
Okay,
their album
Christoph,
to
thank
get
you.
with what you really want.
He did do a track. Okay, cool. Let's see. All right, let me get to my notes here real quick. Well, perfect segue. Favorite music and test tracks that we use to evaluate gear.
Snarky
Oh
can,
goodness.
I can go first on this. I actually prepared them just before this.
Yeah, I just have to get to my test playlist.
I have a couple of test tracks, but what my test tracks end up doing most of the time is I listen to a couple of my go-tos, which I'll touch on in just a second here. And then I kind of, oh god, this is gonna sound weird. I listen to the headphone, not in terms of music, but in what it wants to play and what I feel like it's gonna do well. And then I'll go and listen to stuff in that vein. So typically, if I'm on a warmer setup, a very emotional, warm, detailed setup, I'll typically go for a lot of R&B soul. Chip was talking about it earlier in one of the chats. He said Tannerell, and I introduced him to this artist called Tannerell. Oh, I need to get Song.link. One sec. Tannerell is this pretty unknown soul singer, and her voice, when I showed it to, I don't know if he's still here, but when I showed it to Corey for the first time, he goes, listens to the whole song, takes the headphones off, is silent for a second, and says, her voice is like honey. And I said, yes, that sums it up the best I can. I'm trying to find it. Sorry, I'm multitasking right now. I'm trying to find it on SongLink. There it is. Copy URL. I'll put it in podcast chat. This one here is going to be my warm soul test track. It is not on Qobuz, unfortunately. I have a local copy of it running through Rune right now. It is on Tidal, so if you have Tidal, you can find it. If you can't find that one, you don't have Rune or you don't have a local copy of it. What Love from NGC 17 or 7318. This one is on Qobuz. Another fantastic song from her. Other test tracks are going to be fairly unknown. It is going to be Matt Lange's Testarossa. It is a song that has incredible imaging and sound staging. It's kind of a, let's see if I can find it. Okay, it is on here. It's kind of a ambient kind of song, EDM ambient, kind of almost sounds procedurally generated, almost on the verge of not being music. I just put the link in there. And then I will typically listen to a Weeknd album. After Hours, Dawn FM, stuff like that. I love The Weeknd. I think he has great production quality for the most part. And that's really kind of what I go for through my testing gauntlet, you'll call it.
I don't know. I tend to not put on anything in particular because I just kind of have moods where I phase through different things. So my Rune library, in terms of like what's added recently, is usually what I'm listening to the most at that time. And I usually give it like, I don't know, a week or so of just listening to anything that comes to mind before starting to pick out tracks particularly. And I do a little bit of what Jeremy was mentioning of how the system itself feels and how the headphone itself feels, with a couple of like well-placed tracks, things that I want to hear how well it does or things that I don't think it's going to do well with. But I do listen to a lot of Japanese jazz, and one of the ones that I think not a lot of headphones, not a lot of systems do well with is Hiramasa Suzuki Rock Joint Baiwa, and it's just such a complex album, such a I don't know, it's a clusterfuck of every instrument thrown together, but there are some great systems that are able to resolve it that you can pick out each and every individual instrument, every part that he's placed together. I don't know. He's a fantastic composer.
Isn't that the
And
guy? Is that the guy that played the surfboard guitar?
no,
Okay.
the surfboard guitar is
The double-necked surfboard
Takanaka.
guitar. Takanaka, yes.
Yeah, he's I was
He is a
talking,
character.
I was talking with someone about him, and they called him the Japanese Michael Jackson. And I was
Yes.
like, I don't know how much I feel how accurate that is, but he's awesome. He was performing up until a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
If anyone
the kind of
is
person I would
not
love to
aware.
have as an uncle or a grandfather. Yeah, I'll put the video in
I
the-
put
Oh,
the
you got
picture
it.
in there for you. Takanaka, he has a surfboard guitar.
Yeah, that's a fantastic video. That's like marginally recent as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's crazy. He's got another album called Rainbow Goblins, which is entirely themed around almost like a children's story he's written about how these goblins are trying to suck out the colors from the rainbow, and the whole forest comes to the aid of the rainbow and stops the goblins.
Oh.
It's a full 2 LP album, in case any of you all are interested out there. But it's
I gotta be
pretty
careful
cool.
talking about music, man. I will talk your guys' ears off about
Yeah.
music.
I read a lot of music history books as well. I think I took music theory and music history in high school and fell in love with it.
Yeah. I've never been a musician. I've never studied music theory other than doing it in my free time to learn about the complexities of
Yeah.
music. And the
Mhm.
person that actually got me into that is Jacob Collier. And
Oh, wow.
and learning about seeing the way that he creates music and the way that his mind works is what made me want to decide to get into learning a little bit about music theory. I'm still very, very baby in music theory.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never made any music. I've
Did you
just
ever play any instruments?
obsessed. Saxophone through band at school. I love the
love-
saxophone. You handed me one right now. I might be able to make a note out of it. And then I played guitar as a kid, but when I was probably 12, we moved and my guitars either got lost or broken in the move, and I never picked it up back after that.
Yeah, I played guitar for quite some time. I would be concerned if I picked one up now and could still play. But I played guitar, piano, acoustic guitar, and drums. But what I really wanted to play was trumpet or saxophone.
Yeah.
Those are kind of, I don't know. I love the sound of both of those instruments. I think that's what drew me to some jazz more than anything, is I think it has more full accompaniment of different like horned instruments.
There's something special about my saxophone test track. Typically, I only test it on speakers because I hate how it plays on headphones.
Yeah.
Is In a Sentimental Mood, Duke Ellington. I think that's Coltrane and Ellington.
I've got about 6 different versions of that album.
Yeah. So in the intro, I need to get one of yours. I need it on vinyl.
Yeah.
In that, on headphones, at least on the recordings that I have in Qobuz, it places the saxophone almost entirely in the left channel.
Mm.
And it's very off-putting. I don't know if Corey's still here, but Corey's been over at my house a lot, and it's one of the songs that I was like, hey, let me show you why speakers are cool, because I've shown
Yeah.
him all the headphone gear, but I said, let me show you why speakers are cool. And I played that song from on headphones, and he goes, that's a gorgeous song, but the saxophone's like right in my left ear and only in my left ear. And it's
I
kind
mean,
of
a,
odd.
a lot of those are old mono recordings that got converted to stereo.
Yep.
And so, I mean, even when this is probably a sin, but when I listen to my records with my headphones, there's still a lot of albums that will do that. But there's some good recordings out there.
Mm-hmm. And then TJ, test tracks.
Oh goodness. So yeah, I have everything from I've got some live trumpet stuff, I've got electronic, I've got orchestral, I've got grunge from the 90s, I've got some blues, I've got some jazz. I've got some oh god, what's this called? Music or movie soundtracks, some
Yes.
90s R&B, just some random orchestral arrangements, and then one Nora Jones track. That's pretty well my go-to for I know what this should sound like. I know what'll be missing if I put a pair of headphones on and it doesn't sound right. And then from there I start picking out, oh, okay, I know what this does good because, this has got such a range to my playlist. I know what it does not good and what I don't want to play through it and then kind of go from there. And then,
You forgot to mention Kebmo specifically.
Oh, right. Yeah. The
I know
Kebmo is
we
pretty
talked
well
about Kebmo.
only blues stuff that I just listen to pretty regularly. There's
Yeah.
other stuff that Rune will go, oh, yeah, listen to this. But yeah, Kebmo is pretty much my go-to for it.
Yeah.
So there's one track that always gets mentioned in the Telegram chats by you guys, and I don't know what track it is. You guys refer to it as the pirate song.
Oh, it's for me it's 3 songs.
Okay.
It's 2 off of hold on, let me pull up the actual album. I think it's The World of Hans Zimmer.
Okay.
It's a live concert album of various medleys and soundtracks. And then the other is Live in Prague, which is a longer Pirates of the Caribbean medley song. And they're incredibly complex tracks that have huge dynamic swings, and there's a ton of various instruments that generally you won't hear in the same song as well. There's not orchestral, there's a chorus in the background of most of the stuff. There's bass guitars playing, there's a drum kit. So it's just, if it's something that'll handle that, which and by handle it perfectly, which is only like maybe 5 headphones that I've heard of, then it's going to handle that pair of headphones is going to handle anything great.
Yeah. I feel like Hans Zimmer has a knack for producing stuff like that.
Oh yeah, one of my go-tos recently has been the Dune soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
I love.
That's fantastic.
I have severe music ADHD where I will jump halfway through like a hip hop song into something like classical, like some Mozart or some Bach or something, like halfway through the song. I never sit through full albums typically unless I'm listening on vinyl. And that album, when I first got TH909 here, which I'm going to go back and I'm going to do it again with D8000. But TH909 on MZ2, I sat through and I closed my eyes and I don't think I moved a muscle for the entire Dune soundtrack. How long is that?
I guess
Dune
I should
original
mention
motion picture.
I listen to every single album start to finish. I really don't like listening to single songs.
I never listen to full albums, which I'm starting to do more.
I love getting the full picture of what the artist was going for in the entire album and hearing it within the context it was meant to be put in. So like unless I'm specifically on Rune Radio, I pretty much listen to the full album. And if there's a song I like on Rune Radio, I then go and listen to the full album.
Yeah. There's a song that I've been listening to recently that Chris has already heard, and when I mentioned it, he's like, "Oh yeah, great." Eva Cassidy off of Nightbird, specifically the live recording of Ain't No Sunshine.
Yeah.
That song has made me grab headphones, IEMs, everything that I haven't listened to in a year to go, how does it do on this? Because that song is so emotional and I love it. Less from a technical standpoint. There's certain music that I listen to that I only listen to because it's technical. But that song keeps bringing me back to different setups. All right, I'm going to do a quick intermission here. We've been going for about an hour now, so I wanted to shout this out early, and I totally forgot. I don't know if it's been posted anywhere, but we just put a bunch of used stuff on the site, a bunch of pre-owned gear. We have a bunch of new in-box stock still, so we're running, I think TJ said 20% off. 20% for today and tomorrow. The next, essentially 24 hours, a little bit over, but until tomorrow night, we'll be running 20% off site-wide with code. Go ahead and put it in there.
Mattress sale.
Mattress sale 20, I think is what we ran it as.
No, did I
just
do
mattress sale?
I think I just
20?
did mattress sale.
Okay.
I'm double checking to make sure. Boop.
So we've got a bunch of used gear. I've got the list here. I'm never gonna find it.
Yeah, it's just mattress sale.
Mattress
3
sale.
S's.
Mattress sale is in podcast chat. 20% off the site. Let's see. Where is the list of all the used
Should be
gear?
pinned.
Is it pinned?
And Telegram.
Oh, the Google Doc? No, that's the Harmonies. Okay. Wall 7 Fireflies, Verite Closed, SH9, Ragnarok 2 with DAC chip, LCD-R, HSA 1B, HER9 Extreme Stealth Edition, D8K Pro, Verite Open, Head, Clear MG, HA2SF, Utopia 2020, CA1A, DAC 3B, TH900 Purple, and Bravura is what I've got right there. And I think we put some new stuff on since.
Maybe. It depends
Maybe.
on what all Chris
we
has
go.
got up there.
Chris is getting screenshots up for you.
We're going to we've got a Terminator Plus that'll probably go up tonight, maybe sometime tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll go up tonight.
And then I'm trying to find the new inbox stuff. Okay, this new inbox stuff that we have in stock, ready to ship right now. We've got Clear MG, Celeste. Let's see, MMCX, the MMCX connectors of the UTWS5s, RU6, and a bunch of the ZE8000s, K5 Pros, M17, A90D, LCDX. We got a bunch of stuff that we've got pretty much ready to go, as well as everything on the site. 20% off does work for pre-owned gear, yeah?
Yes. Yeah, it's
so the
everything on the site.
Site-wide. Wow, we've been going for an hour already, and I want to keep talking. I want to get to Christoph's question. Is there a ready-to-go / ready-to-ship section on the site? There is not. But if you put ask in here, or if you PM TJ, he's got inventory right now, so he'll be able to tell you what is here right now, ready to ship.
Yeah, I've got a pretty good idea of what all's at hand.
Where is Christoph's question? I remember it, but I just want to make sure. Christoph said, "Not what's the worst thing about working for Mimic." I will answer that. The worst part about working for Mimic is that I no longer enjoy a lot of the gear that I used to. And that sounds dumb, but a lot of the stuff that I used to like, for example, I have had a pair of Monolith M1060 closed backs that I converted to open back, did new pads, did everything, and I thought they were the cream of the crop for cheap planars. And I loved them for so long. They were my nicest pair of headphones for years. As soon as I got even a quarter of what I've tried so far since being at Mimic, I put those back on, and they're being given to a buddy of mine for free. They do not check any of my boxes anymore, and I feel like a spoiled brat because of it. Let's see.
It's, you worked your way up too fast.
I didn't work my way up. That's the problem.
I was going to say, by worked his way up,
skipped.
he means met TJ, and TJ went, here, have this stuff I don't want to sell.
Man, favorite gear I've heard recently is D8000 Pro. There's nothing else I can say. That might be my favorite headphone now. TH909 has been for the past few months checking the boxes, and it still is my favorite dynamic. But D8000 Pro is so goddamn good, and it is so goddamn good on everything. So that I've tried it on so far. Let me just point that out. It was about 80% as good on the Go Blue as it is on the MZ2. Like, it is so versatile. Well, I find Christoph's question that he asked earlier. Do you guys have any favorite gear you've heard?
I've heard a lot of stuff recently. The HA200 from TNA is
E plus A.
I don't know, was T plus A, was fantastic. I did not know what to expect. I think I was in the camp of the people that like separates, and so didn't know what to expect from a true kind of high-end all-in-one, but I was blown away. And then the other thing I've got is the Amson Sound Black Pearl is all amazing. And then the Rega P10. I came from a Technics SL 1200 turntable, and it is blowing my mind consistently. I mean, way more detailed, extremely well refined, well detailed bass. It's a great table. And you know, for that price, I don't think you can beat it.
Yeah, the HA200 as an all-in-one competes with all of the big, oh, you need this power amp and this preamp and this $4,000 or $5,000 R2R deck, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it did a really good job at hanging with those folks and those different gear options more so than I thought it would.
And since it's really more of like a home theater centerpiece than just the normal headphone equipment,
Yeah,
you can run an
Everything.
Apple TV off of it. You can
Everything.
run your computer off of it. You can run, yeah, everything. Like Chris just said, you just put it in the middle of your home theater, and now everything's in one place for movies and TV, because it does HDMI in and HDMI out through ARC. So it's kind of just one of those. I'm not going to say bang for a buck because it's a $10,000 unit.
Yeah,
And nothing from T plus A is bang for your buck. But
it's a big
very
bang and a
good
big
stuff.
buck.
Yeah, it's definitely a buy once, cry once type of purchase.
Yeah.
All
No,
right.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Christoph's question was, can each Mimic employee talk about their favorite system they've heard? Can be headphones or speakers.
Oh,
That question would have been much easier for me to answer if you had asked me 6 months ago, because I hadn't heard as much, and what I did hear was for brief periods of time, and there was standout systems in those brief periods of time. And 6 months ago, and I still might say it today because I haven't heard it since CanJam, but CanJam, there was the Expanse on Nautilus that was just incredible for me. That was probably one of the best. But my other answer to that question is my first time hearing proper speakers. They're my JBL Studio 530s. off of $100 random SMSL or topping amp that I have. But it was my first time. I did stands. I put sand in the stands. I spent a week positioning them. And my first time sitting down in the proper listening position and closing my eyes and hearing what speakers can do was one of the most moving things for me, as like there's a whole nother realm of audio other than headphones that is not nearly as convenient and can be significantly more expensive, but wow, is it good.
Well, and you're talking about something that's not convenient or consistent or cheap, and that's
Yeah.
car audio, which
Yeah.
is what I started with, which is part of why it took me so long to find headphones that I liked, is because I had a mentality of a $10,000 car audio system was just scratching the surface effectively of what you could hear speakers do in a car.
Yeah.
And that stuff still sticks with me today, even when I get lucky enough to listen to a decent pair of two-channel speakers, is a well designed and tuned car. It's insane. And yeah, it's okay, yeah, $10,000 is a lot of money until you start talking about two-channel, but then you have to talk about the extra $300,000 room you built around that two-channel setup too.
Yeah. I mean, all of mine are gonna come from things I've heard at shows and specifically two channel. Recently when I went to Capital Audio Fest, one of the rooms that really stood out is it was the Credo and LTA room, and they had the Meitner MA3, they had the LTA preamp, and then they had the Zodal 40 monoblocked, and it was the big Credo tower speakers, and it was, I mean, everything about it was impressive. And like, you know that you're not hearing it even at its best because it's in a hotel room. I mean, they can do the best that they can, but you're not going to be able to get the same sound as if you had those at home. But it blew my mind. And then the same vein, so the MA3 was everywhere, all over this thing. Was the QLN system, so Fine Audio speakers. It was the F1.8s, and then the Meitner DAC. I forget what amp they were using, but that was fantastic. And I got lucky enough that I was friendly to a couple of the people that worked there and worked in a couple of the different rooms, and so they let me sit front and center and test out a bunch of different music. And it was fantastic. I think what they're doing with coaxial speakers in the past couple of years, not necessarily the KEF stuff, has been outstanding. I think Fine Audio does a great job, and I think the new MoFi speaker from Andrew Jones is fantastic. I'm trying to think of what else I heard. My girlfriend's, she always comes with me because I like to see what she enjoys as someone who's not in the hobby. And her favorites have been the YG Tour speakers, which I told her, she has to pick something that we sell, but we'll see.
Rule 3.
Yeah, rule 3. So either she picks something we sell or we break up. It's just a matter of time.
My
Oh,
girlfriend
gosh.
surprisingly has not cared about audio, which is funny because she is a musician. She's amazing at playing guitar, piano. She's an incredible singer. She loves music on the same level that I do, but I don't know if she's just gotten used to it because the only things she hears now are really high-end stuff.
Yeah.
But every time I show her something, she's like, "Wow, that's it makes music and it sounds good."
I mean, I think there's a massive difference in perspective between people that consider this to be a hobby and normal consumers. And I think that's
Yeah.
why you get such a massive increase in the level of products that are coming out from normal consumer index type stuff versus true high end stuff. And I think that's where those cheap, $50 IEMs you were talking about earlier is where is that market, and what are people looking for when they're looking at each of these products?
Yeah. Let's see. All right. Before I have one last thing that we have points that we want to talk about. Does anyone have any other questions? Well, before we hit on our last point, go ahead and put them in chat. Grayson, right now, she is trained to know what's going on because we have a package room at our apartment complex. So I will text her while I'm at work and say, "Hey, babe, I got a new package. Can you go grab it from the package room?" And it'll be a huge box. And she'll go, "TJ?" And I go, "TJ." She knows now, and it's bad. Mainly not even from the monetary aspect, the amount of space, because some of this stuff is huge.
Yeah, at a certain point, you start running out of space faster than you run out of things to
money.
acquire.
And she goes shopping. Yep, that's fair. I know we've got some of my friends in here who may not be nearly as into audio. I love that I can see who's listening. This is our first time doing the live podcast with the stage channel. I know Nick is here, Corey's here. You guys are a little bit newer into audio and aren't as Summit-fi as some of the other people here. Do you guys have any questions, both for us and for everybody else here that is into really hi-fi stuff? I know I'll talk you guys' ears off when you guys are here, but see Corey typing. Oh, I love that it's recording, that Craig is recording our individual channels right now so we can cut out all the silence.
Yeah, got to get it up
Yes,
so we can post it this week.
I don't ask questions because you just tell me what to do. That is true. I'm pretty sure I texted him when I got D8000 here and said, "Sell everything, buy this." And he said, "Yeah, right." All right. So our final point for today, final topic that we have is simply future plans / projects, future directions. There is a lot. Any of you guys have want to start off with future plans? And we've touched on it already today with the harmonies and what our plan is there. But what about brand wide?
I mean, I think the closest goal coming up is Axpona, and I expect to see everyone there who can get there. So I think we've been working behind the scenes on getting things situated for that, to kind of make our entrance as a, I guess, quote unquote, true higher end dealership and true higher end brand. I think it'll also be interesting to make those connections and make those relationships. So we will be having at Axpona is the DAC 4 special from SW1X, the Rega P10, and then Justin from Amps and Sound is bringing his Calypso monoblocks, and then we'll have the Acora stand mount speakers. And then we're going to get Peter from Double Helix Cables to do the cable for the whole thing, which should be fun.
Beautiful. Axpona for me is going to be the first show with Mimic for me in a business aspect. So I really want to make connections with industry contacts and have an enjoyable trip. But if whoever was there knows, SoCal 2022 was a legendary show because it was social. We were there for fun. We were there to have a good time with our friends. TJ did get a ton of business done at that show in terms of talking to manufacturers and stuff like that. But the main focus of that show was to be with our friends. And Axpona, while yes, we are still going to be with our friends, I myself am approaching it from a business aspect. I want to meet people, I want to make connections, I want to talk to brands that we've wanted to talk to and hear stuff that we haven't heard and expand our site with more products, more manufacturers, more harmonies, etc.
Yeah, I think that's the goal, is just to inch towards being the most useful resource to our customers through providing kind of the review side of things, through providing the pre-owned side of things, that it becomes a collaborative community almost, that we're able to support our customers and walk them through different decisions, and having them come in at the lower to mid-priced market, as Jeremy said, is great for us, because we love the opportunity and want the opportunity to be able to mentor and have people ask questions and be able to walk them through those system upgrades, that we know they're getting something that they'll enjoy, and know they're getting something that's gonna run their headphones. And if they ever have questions, or if they ever want to sell gear back to us, that's an option. And so I think we've introduced a lot of things new to this site, but I think 2023 is going to be the year of making those come to fruition and being able to think through them logically and think through the best way for us to do it, to be able to help the community that we're serving is kind of my biggest
I think it was Grayson that said it in the podcast chat about allowing people to enter our ecosystem, if you want to call it, have a relationship with our brand early on in their both monetary and in a timeline wise early on in their audiophile journey. And the exact words that we used behind the scenes were, we want them to grow with us while we grow for them.
Yeah.
We want them to grow up in our brand, not because we're the cheapest, not because we are the easiest. That's our goal, is to be the easiest, but because we are the best resource for them. We're accessible. We have great customer service, etc. So that's what we're trying to do to set ourselves apart. We do have stuff going on behind the scenes. I wish I could talk to you guys about some of the brands that we're talking to right now. Unfortunately, they're too early in the planning stage for us to be able to bring it up, but there should be some really cool stuff coming through the pipeline here soon. Hopefully around Axpona time is when we start to have some more serious actual reveals for you, but we are busting ass behind the scenes.
Yep.
TJ, anything you want to touch on?
Oh no, y'all pretty well covered everything. And then I told Christoph about my new love, which is this T+A 200 series stat.
Yes. If ever there was a complete series, it's that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there are a couple people who'll be like, oh, well, it's not a full server, which is fair. Or, oh, it won't run. I don't think it'll run like full max DSD. I think it cuts off at 512, which again, totally fair. But, and it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for headphone stuff.
Yeah.
But it will do everything.
Well. Headphone and speaker stuff.
That's
Come
true.
on.
It will run your 2-channel, and it'll pre-out into home theater or.
And then you eventually get their turntable.
Yeah, you get a turntable and a pre, and which I definitely go with Tim's pre. And yeah, you got everything you need to listen to anything on any media in a
Yeah.
pretty small stack.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think we're about ready to end it up here. We've been going for an hour
Right
and a
at
half
90
now.
minutes.
Yep, 90 minutes. These will be posted to YouTube. We're still doing the editing on the first one. Chris had a mishap recording the first
Yeah.
podcast
Yeah.
where it only recorded Peter's voice.
Yeah,
Chris's
it
voice
sounds-
is not there at all,
It sounds like Peter just talking to himself and answering his
which
own
he
questions.
does do. Let's make
Yeah.
that very clear. Peter does talk to himself. And so Chris is having to go through and dub through all of his
Yeah.
voice for the questions that he asked in the conversations that were being had, which, as you can imagine, recalling a conversation from 2 weeks ago and then dubbing it over perfectly and editing it is going to be time consuming. Hopefully
Yeah.
this new system makes it a lot easier. You can see in the audio or in the audience, we have the recording. That is Craig. Craig's our new bot that we have in here. He's recording each of our voices that are speaking independently and saving them to a cloud location for us so that we have multi-track recordings that make it a lot easier to cut out silences and raise volumes for a speaker if we need to, if there's people being talked over, mute somebody if there was multiple conversations happening at the same time, and should expedite the process for getting stuff to YouTube as well as make it sound really nice. I don't know if I have. Oh boy, I need to edit the channel. Okay, it's max bitrate. Cool.
Yeah, I checked before.
Cool. One thing I want to do real quick is I have so much music in my library that a lot of people haven't heard of, and I love sharing music with people. I want to leave with a song of the podcast. I want to put an option. Each of you guys can put one too if you want. Of something that I've been listening to recently that I think everyone should listen to. That pairs really well with a nice system. Mine is going to be Apophenia by Mr. Bill. The album is Apophenia, but this is the title track on the album. I went ahead and put it in the podcast chat. You guys have anything you've been listening to recently you want to highlight?
Oh, goodness.
It'd be best if it was underground. We're hipsters around here.
Underground.
Mr. Bill's not underground, but a lot of people haven't heard it.
I have so much stuff that's not available online just because it's on record. I've been listening to. I shared some of it in the songs portion. Is a band called Machine Heart.
Okay.
At the album People Change, and then one that Peter shared with me is I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Jin Wigmore.
Okay.
I'll send a picture of it on the podcast chat. But her voice is insane. There's so much texture to it. There's so much everything. It makes me happy to listen to.
I'm adding this in right now. Jin Wigmore. Sounds like a Harry Potter character.
It kind of looks like
Ginny Wigmore.
Oh. Mimic with the snarky puppy is fantastic.
Yes. I keep typing Ginny because I have that in my head. Jin Wigmore. And this track name is Ivory. Or is it an album? Album. Ivory. Got it. Boom.
Like I said, always albums.
Always albums.
Gotta
Damn.
listen
Yeah.
to it start to finish.
Yep. All right. Any last questions before we close it out, guys? Anyone in podcast chat?
Let's see here.
Crickets.
I don't see any questions.
Yeah, I think
they're
we're good.
all
I think
too
we
busy
touched on
listening
everything.
to music now.
Yeah, I think we've touched on everything. Awesome, guys.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
So
Yeah,
this will be a weekly thing, Mimic Mondays. We're gonna try and stay on track as much as possible. There may be weeks that we miss or something like that, and there may be more of these where it's just us. If we can't get a guest that week, or if somebody drops out, we may get some of our friends who may not be like in the industry, but are really big in the hobby when we can't get a guest or something like that. So, and they're all gonna go to YouTube.
We've got a spicy take episode semi.
Oh, are we doing the hot take episode?
I think we need to.
Oh man, that's gonna be.
But we're gonna have to be able to mute Joe just
Even
so he
I
doesn't
got into it with him the
kill
other
Joe's
day, and me. I got into it with him the other day. Oh,
That's okay. It'll be
that's
fun.
gonna be a 3-hour episode.
Yeah.
Of
We're gonna
just him talking to himself.
yeah, we're gonna look down
No,
and it'll
that's
be like
Grayson. That's the hot take episode. It is Joe. Joe is the hot take episode.
yeah. Joe and Dan and
Oh,
maybe
man.
Corey if we can get him to put a headset on.
Corey and Joe. Those two in person, those three, Dan, Joe, and Corey, you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
That's a combo right there. All right, guys. I'm hopping out. Everybody have a good night. Listen to
Yep.
those tracks that we were talking about. The podcast chat channel is open all the time. So if you ever think of a question and you don't want to wait until the podcast to put it in there, you can go ahead and put it down. We'll write it down in our
Yes.
behind the scenes chat and touch on it on the next episode.
As we start getting some manufacturers going, I'm going to reach out to you all about submitting questions ahead of time so that I can start making a list and thinking of different things to ask. So be on the lookout for that.
Do you want to reveal who our next one is early?
No, I need to get the schedule 100%.
Okay. All right. All right, guys. Catch you later.
Take it easy, guys.
Adios.